We've got tips and recipes for healthy living. So for fun and inspiration, come and join us in the raw food world.
Welcome everybody, this is Matt, Monarch with the Raw Food World TV show, and today is June 2nd, and we're sitting here in Renora Lodge in Michigan on our way back to California to go to the Raw Spirit Festival. Yesterday's video was absolutely crazy with the response we got with the raw chocolate debate with me and Paul Neeson. Paul had a lot of good points to say. He mentioned that, raw chocolate is not good for you. He said, don't eat late at night. Eat a couple meals a day. You can't overeat. Eat small meals. And this advice is really good, especially for somebody like myself, who is on a really clean diet, and in order to succeed in the long run, I'm going to seriously need to follow these rules, or I might run into issues and maybe get off the raw food diet. So I wanted to give you another perspective. Now, taking all these principles that are really good for a guy like me, now let's take someone who's who's 300 pounds, who eats at midnight, 1 a.m., who's eating all day long, doing the opposite of all this. Now imagine the same 300-pound person following every single one of suggestions, such as all of a sudden stop eating late at night, eat 2 meals a day, eat small amounts, and so on. What's going to happen? They're going to go through massive detox, and it's very possible that they're not going to be able to sustain themselves. It's all about obstruction. What foods are obstructive to the body? In other words, what foods are damaging to the body? All right, everybody. Are you ready for a raw food advanced curveball? Okay. All food is obstructive to the body. All food is damaging to the body. Even raw foods. I know this sounds absolutely nuts, because if 99% of the population right now went on a 100% raw food diet, they would start regenerating. They'd start becoming younger. And this would last from anywhere from like 6 to 15 years of this becoming younger regenerating process. However, let me give you another little example of myself, for instance. 10 years ago, I went on a 100% raw food diet, and when I did this, I started regenerating. I started becoming younger. I couldn't believe what was happening in my body. And then what happened after about year 6 or 7, I started to notice something. I started to age on the raw food diet. I mean, it's inevitable, everybody ages, but what was aging me? Obviously, actual food I was intake had a big factor in doing that. When you improve your diet by eating less kinds and quantities of food consistently, what happens is you start to become younger and you go through massive detoxification. And then what happened, for 7 years I went through this process as my body transformed, and as the years went by, I just became cleaner and cleaner. And at some point I got rid of most of that waste within my body, and I stabilized out on my new consistent diet. So it's all about what foods are less obstructive to the body. What foods are less damaging to the body? And the answer is raw foods. It's pretty much just water-rich food. I mean, an apple is pretty much just water with vitamins and minerals in it. It's very easy to digest, and it's least damaging to the body. A raw food diet is less obstructive than the standard American diet. An intermediate whole food, healthy cooked food diet is less obstructive than the standard American diet also. A raw food diet is less obstructive than both. Raw cacao is less obstructive than coffee. Raw cacao, in my opinion, is less obstructive than refined sugar, which is one of the most damaging foods to the body. Raw cacao is less obstructive than processed starches, which is probably the most damaging food to the body. It's all about consistency and forward-moving steps. As I said before, becoming younger happens when you eat less kinds and quantities of food. So the key is to just make positive forward steps. And if you're sitting there 300 pounds on the standard American diet, the key is to start eating less obstructive foods consistently, eating less kinds and quantities of food than what you used to eat. And what will happen is this is when you start to go through healing and regeneration, and you start to become younger. And this is when detoxification occurs. So if someone who is on the standard American diet is eating massive amounts of these processed foods that are really damaging to the body, and they make a permanent positive forward step by eliminating some of these things and eating something that is less obstructive, such as raw cacao, that can be very beneficial. People can heal from disease by eating better foods that are not as damaging to the body. Keep in mind, the majority of the human population are not as clean and healthy as Paul and I, or some of you out there. Most people are not doing well and are obese, and these are the people that I'm mainly reaching. I'm all about giving them less obstructive foods to heal from disease. And it doesn't need to be chocolate. I'm just talking about in general. It's all about positive forward steps, consistently. The most rewarding thing for me is when someone actually does this and they improve their diet consistently and they heal from disease and all these amazing things happen to them, become younger. I love that. That's like one of the main reasons why I'm doing what I do today. Now, conversely, the most painful thing for me is when somebody does that and improves their diet consistently, and then they go back to eating what they used to eat. A lot of confusion sets in, because when you improve your diet consistently, permanently, your body becomes cleaner and cleaner and more purified, and it needs less fuel to maintain high energy levels. So now your body doesn't need as much. And what happens is a lot of people, they go on the raw food diet, and then they go back to eating not even as bad as what they used to eat, and they gain more weight before they even ate the better diet. And their diet's not even as bad as it was before. Why would this happen? Is because when you evolve by eating less kinds and quantities of food consistently, especially on a raw food diet, which happens extremely rapidly, your body doesn't need as much food. So when you go back to eating what you used to eat, it's kind of hard to understand that your body doesn't need it, so it puts it out as fat. Here's a good example. There was this one man that had healed from cancer by doing an advanced, intermediate, healthy cooked food diet. And he was thriving, and one day he met a woman who made rich ethnic foods for him. And she got upset when he didn't eat it. And these people got married, and so he started eating her food. And guess what came back? You got it, the cancer. Consistent, forward-moving steps. That's the key here. I'm not saying raw cacao is good, raw cacao is bad. It's different in each situation depending on each person's physiology and composition. A good example would be myself. I used to eat, when I first went 100% raw, 3 avocados every single night. And I was becoming younger and doing amazing. But is that healthy? It depends on who you are. The reason why I was able to get away with a type of diet like that, eating 3 avocados every single night, is because it was such an improvement compared to my previous cooked food diet. But what happened as the years went on, and the years went on, after probably, I did that for, seriously, 3 avocados for 4 or 5 years. Crazy. But then after about year 5, this is when the tables kind of turned. I kind of cleansed all the stuff out, and everything started to catch up with me. And what would happen was, every single morning, I would wake up with a runny nose because I didn't need as much food anymore. Your body just becomes cleaner and cleaner as the years go by. So at that point, I wasn't feeling well, and I had to make the decision to start eating less foods. So I went down to 2 avocados. Now, 10 years later, I never eat more than a half an avocado in a meal. Pretty crazy. So I just sent out a newsletter, and there's this article about consistency that is a must read. And you can go see this newsletter right now and get this consistency article at www.rawspirit.org/consistency.html. Just go to that link right there and you will see an amazing article that may blow your mind. Alright, this is Matt Monarch with the Raw Food World TV show, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again at at the raw food world.